Life has a way of shaking the ground beneath us, leaving us standing on the edge of uncertainty, wondering where to go next. Many of us know the feeling of thinking someone would stay with us forever, only to find ourselves suddenly alone. It's painful, it's disorienting, and it feels unfair. But in that silence, in that emptiness, there is a lesson we often overlook. The truth is, no one is guaranteed to stay with you permanently. People will come and go, circumstances will change, but what cannot leave you is the strength you carry inside. And if you don't learn how to stand tall when no one else is there to hold you up, you will never discover the full depth of your own power. This is not about rejecting relationships, friendships, or family. They matter deeply, but they cannot be the foundation that your entire life rests on. If you lean too heavily on others to be your anchor, you will always be shaken when they move, when they change, when they leave. The only true anchor you can depend on every single day is yourself. That is where survival begins. That is where resilience is built. The most powerful resource you will ever have is not the possessions you own, not the people who stand beside you, and not the circumstances you were born into. The most powerful resource is you, your mind, your will, your determination. These are the tools that will carry you through the storms that arrive without warning. These are the strengths that will carry you when the night feels endless and the weight of the world feels too heavy to bear. Think about it. Every person who has left a mark on history, every figure we admire, every success story we celebrate, they all shared something in common. They discovered the power of relying on themselves when life pushed them to the edge. They didn't have easy paths laid out for them. They faced rejection, loss, and failure. They were knocked down again and again, and yet they rose. Not because they had perfect circumstances, not because others carried them, but because they realized something life changing. Their greatest asset was themselves. Consider Steve Jobs. Here was a man who founded Apple, who built one of the most influential companies in the world. But at one point in his life, he was fired from the very company he created. Imagine that. Imagine being pushed out of your own dream, cut off from the thing you poured your life into. For many, that would have been the end. That would have been the moment to give up, to accept defeat, to let failure define the rest of the story. But Jobs didn't fold. He didn't throw away his vision. Instead, he stood up, brushed off the dust, and started again. And in time, he returned stronger than ever, turning Apple into one of the most valuable companies the world has ever seen. Why? Because deep down he understood the truth we all must face. The world could strip him of his position, of his company, even of the people around him, but it could not take away his vision, his will, or his strength. Those belonged to him and only him. That is why he rose again. That is why he triumphed, and the same is true for you. You may be standing in a season of loss right now. You may feel abandoned, rejected, or forgotten. But that is not the end of your story. That is the moment when your true strength is revealed. In the silence of solitude, when no one is there to tell you what to do or where to go, you will discover the fire within you that refuses to be extinguished. The fire that says, I will not quit. I will not surrender. I will rise. The world will test you. It will send storms that feel unfair and challenges that feel cruel. You might lose a job, face heartbreak, or watch a dream slip away. But nothing the world throws at you can defeat the one thing that belongs only to you, your inner strength. That strength is waiting for you to lean on it, to trust it, to unleash it when life pushes you to the edge. It's easy to look at those who have succeeded and assume they had advantages you don't. It's easy to believe they were lucky, that they had resources or connections you don't have. But the truth is much simpler. They made a choice to trust in themselves, a choice to keep moving when it felt easier to stop, a choice to believe that within them was enough power to overcome whatever the world threw their way. That same choice is available to you right now. Will you keep waiting for someone else to save you, or will you stand up and save yourself? Will you let the pain of loss define you, or will you use it as the fuel to rise stronger than ever before? It will not be easy, growth never is. But if you make the choice to rely on your own strength, to see yourself as your greatest resource, everything changes. You stop fearing the storms because you know you can withstand them. You stop seeing rejection as the end because you know you can create new beginnings. You stop waiting for others to complete you because you know that you are already enough. Once you embrace this truth, challenges will no longer terrify you. They will become opportunities to prove what you're truly made of. You will no longer crumble when someone leaves, because you will know that what remains is stronger than anything that has been lost. You, your will, your determination, your unshakable strength. When you choose the path of surviving alone, one of the first battles you will face is with fear. And if you are honest with yourself, you already know this enemy well. Fear is subtle, but powerful. It creeps in at the quietest moments, whispers in your ear, and tells you that you are not ready, that you are not good enough, that you are destined to fail. It convinces you to play it safe, to stay where you are, to never take the risk of stepping forward into the unknown. And if you allow it, fear will paralyze you. It will keep you stuck in place, watching opportunities slip away because you were too afraid to move. But fear, as real as it feels, is not the truth. Fear is a liar. It convinces you that it owns you, that it controls you, but it only has the power you give it. Every single human being who has ever achieved something great has felt fear. Every leader, every innovator, every trailblazer has stood face to face with it. The difference is not that they never felt fear. The difference is that they refused to let it decide their future. They acknowledged its presence but chose to move anyway. Think of Nelson Mandela. Here was a man who spent 27 long years inside the walls of a prison cell. 27 years of isolation, of uncertainty, of separation from his family, his people, and his cause. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine waking up every day with bars around you, not knowing if freedom would ever come. Every single morning, Mandela had the chance to surrender to fear. Fear of never being free again. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing hope, and yet he did not give in. He did not allow fear to define him. Instead, he took those years and turned them into strength. He used the silence, the suffering, and the loneliness to sharpen his resolve, to clarify his vision, and to deepen his courage. When he finally walked out of that prison, he did not carry bitterness. He did not carry hatred. He carried a vision for freedom, for unity, for justice. That is what happens when you stop letting fear control you and instead use it as fuel. Mandela showed us that even in the darkest circumstances, courage can be chosen and strength can be built. Now, maybe your fear doesn't look like Mandela's. Maybe you are not trapped behind prison walls, but perhaps you are imprisoned by self-doubt. Perhaps you are stuck in a job that drains your soul, a relationship that suffocates your spirit, or a financial burden that feels impossible to escape. Maybe your fear is the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, or simply the fear of what people will think if you take a step into something new. Fear comes in many forms, but the lesson is always the same. You are not powerless against it. Fear is only as strong as the belief you give it. Think about your own life. How many times have you stood at the edge of something you wanted, but hesitated because fear whispered that you weren't ready? How many times have you stopped yourself from speaking up, from applying, from reaching out, because fear convinced you that you would fail? And yet, think back to the moments when you pushed through anyway. Think about the time you were terrified but chose to act regardless. What happened? You survived, you made it through, and in the process you grew stronger. That is the hidden gift inside fear. Every time you face it, you build something more powerful than before. You build resilience, you build confidence, you build the kind of strength that no one and nothing can ever take away from you. The truth is, the greatest breakthroughs of your life are waiting for you on the other side of fear. It is the wall standing between you and your destiny, and once you break through, you realize the wall was never as solid as it seemed. It was only built from doubt and lies. This is why you must stop running from fear and start embracing it. Stop letting it push you backward and instead allow it to propel you forward. Fear is not there to destroy you. It is there to test you, to challenge you, to reveal what you are truly capable of. When you feel afraid, it means you are on the edge of growth, on the edge of transformation. That is not a signal to stop. That is a signal to move. So the next time fear shows up at your door, don't hide. Don't shrink back. Stand tall and open the door with courage. Tell fear that it will not dictate your steps. Remind yourself that you are stronger than the lies it tells you, and then take the step forward, even if your knees are shaking and your heart is racing. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of it. And here is the truth that will set you free. Fear will never fully disappear. It will always be there in some form, trying to hold you back. But every time you choose courage, fear loses its grip. Every time you face it, you grow stronger. And soon, the things that once terrified you will no longer have power over you. They will become proof of your strength, reminders of how far you have come, and fuel for the journey still ahead. When life strips everything familiar from you, when people walk away and circumstances turn against you, it is easy to believe that you have been left empty-handed, but that is not the truth. What you are left with in those moments is the most powerful gift you could ever hold, your independence. Learning to survive alone is not about isolation or bitterness. It is about realizing that you have within you everything you need to rise, to rebuild, and to create a future worth living. The world often teaches us to measure our worth by what others give us: support, love, approval, validation. But what happens when those things are gone? If your worth depends on someone else's presence, then it can be stolen from you in an instant. True strength begins the moment you stop waiting for someone else to carry you and decide to carry yourself. That is when independence becomes your foundation. Consider Oprah Winfrey's story. She was not born into privilege. Her childhood was filled with hardship, instability, and pain. By all accounts, she had every reason to remain a victim of her circumstances. Many people expected her to fail, to settle, to give up before she even began. But Oprah made a different choice. She learned early on that if she was going to build a life of meaning, she could not wait for someone else to hand it to her. She had to fight for it, create it, and believe in it when no one else did. She pushed through poverty, through rejection, through the voices that said she was not good enough, and step by step she built her own path. Today, she is not just a media icon, but a symbol of what happens when you embrace independence, when you refuse to be defined by your past, and instead use it as fuel for your future. Her story is not about the people who helped her. It is about the woman who decided she was capable of helping herself, and that same choice is in front of you. Maybe you feel right now that no one understands you, that no one is standing beside you in the way you hoped they would. But that does not mean you are powerless. It does not mean your story is over. It means you have an opportunity to strengthen the one thing that can never be taken from you, your ability to stand on your own. Independence is not coldness. It is not the rejection of love or connection. It is the confidence of knowing that if love fades, if people leave, if support disappears, you will still stand, you will still fight. You will still rise. It means that when you build relationships, you do so from strength, not desperation. It means that when you succeed, you know it was your determination and not someone else's approval that carried you there. Think about a tree planted in a storm. If its roots are shallow, the winds will tear it down. But if its roots dig deep into the soil, the winds may bend it, but they will not break it. Your independence is those roots. It is the quiet decision you make every day to believe in yourself, to act when no one is watching, to keep moving even when no one is cheering. Those are the roots that will keep you steady when life sends its fiercest storms. And here is the beauty of it. Once you build that independence, everything else in your life becomes stronger. Relationships stop being a crutch and start being a gift. Success stops being fragile and starts being sustainable. Happiness stops being dependent on circumstances and starts flowing from within. That is the transformation independence brings. So do not fear standing alone. Do not see solitude as emptiness. See it as the training ground where your roots grow deeper, where your will becomes unshakable, and where your identity becomes solid. Because once you learn to survive alone, you discover a freedom that no one can take away from you. You are no longer chained to the presence or absence of others. You are no longer defined by who stays or who leaves. You are defined by your own strength, your own choices, your own power to rise again. And that kind of freedom, that is the foundation of a life no storm can destroy. Every journey of survival, of independence, of facing fear and loss, must eventually lead to one truth. You are stronger than you think, and your story is not finished. Standing alone is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of transformation. It is the place where you stop waiting for life to hand you answers and begin creating your own. But here is the challenge. Many people stop too soon. They rise for a moment, but when the next storm comes, they fall back into despair. They believe strength is something that appears once, when in reality, it is something you must cultivate every single day. True survival is not a single act. It is a lifestyle. It is the daily choice to wake up, to face your fears, to carry your independence, and to keep moving forward no matter how heavy the weight feels. Look at Thomas Edison. History remembers him for the invention of the light bulb, but few people stop to think about the thousands of failures that came before his success. Imagine working on something day after day, year after year, only to watch it fail over and over again. Most people would have quit. Most people would have let the weight of failure crush their spirit, but Edison did not. He understood that every failure was not the end but a lesson, a step closer to success. He once said he had not failed. He had simply found thousands of ways that did not work. That mindset is what kept him going. That mindset is what gave the world light. You see, resilience is not built in the moments when everything is easy. It is built in the moments when everything feels impossible. It is built when you face heartbreak, loss, rejection, and disappointment, but refuse to let those things write the final chapter of your life. Resilience is what turns pain into power, what turns loneliness into self-discovery, what turns failure into fuel. Maybe right now you are in a season where the weight feels unbearable. Maybe you are carrying grief that no one else can see, or fighting battles that no one else knows about. You may feel tired, broken, or even forgotten. But hear this, those feelings do not define you. They are real, but they are not permanent. What is permanent is the strength you build when you keep going. Every time you get back up, every time you choose to fight again, you are writing a new chapter of your story. And that story is not just about survival. It is about victory. Because once you realize that you have the strength to stand alone, that you can walk through fear, that you can embrace independence, and that you can rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down, there is nothing left that can stop you. You become unshakable, you become unstoppable, and here is the greatest gift of all. When you reach that place, you not only transform your own life, you become a light for others. Your strength becomes a testimony. Your resilience becomes an inspiration. The way you stood in the storm gives others the courage to believe they can stand too. That is how your personal victory ripples outward to change the world around you. So do not despise the struggle you are in. Do not curse the loneliness, the rejection, or the pain. They are shaping you. They are molding you into someone stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than you have ever been before. One day you will look back and realize that the very things that tried to break you were the things that built you. This is not the end. This is not where you stop. This is where you rise. This is where you discover the strength that was within you all along. This is where you step into the life you were meant to live. Fearless, independent, resilient, and unstoppable.